Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie. Today I'm going to be reading two books that I've had FOMO for so long. My Best Friend's Exorcism and The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, both by Grady Hendrix. I've heard such good things about both of these books, and it is spooky season. I'm finally ready. It is September 30th. It's technically not even October yet, but I've just come off of uploading a video every single day in September, and I don't want to take a break because I'm scared I'll lose momentum. So we're gonna go straight into spooky season here. I'm going to start with My Best Friend's Exorcism, and just this is such a cool cover. It's just like an old VCR tape. I love it. My prediction is that I'll like this more just because I like vampires and because I've heard more hype about it. So I'm gonna start with this one so that my expectations are kind of low and therefore I will be, satisfied. I really don't know what this is about except for, what the title is telling us. So let me read the back. High school sophomores Abby and Gretchen have been best friends since 4th grade. But after an evening of skinny dipping goes disastrously wrong, Gretchen begins to act different. She's moody, she's irritable. That is me just this last week. And bizarre incidents keep happening whenever she's nearby. Abby's investigation leads her to some startling discoveries, and by the time their story reaches its terrifying conclusion, the fate of Abby and Gretchen will be determined by a single question. Is their friendship powerful enough to beat the devil? I sure hope so. I think this takes place in the 80s, so I'm ready for some nostalgic feelings. I was not alive in the 80s, but I've seen enough movies to feel like I was. Let's read the first sentence. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this, I'm sorry. What the heck? I'm reading the dedication and it says, "For Amanda, who knows the reason why," and then there's an asterisk. I just imagined it was gonna be something really sweet, but look at this. But if she doesn't, I would suggest she have her attorney consult both protective orders filed against her, the criminal complaint which outlines these reasons in great detail, and may be also her conscience, because disclosing the whereabouts of the bodies will finally bring some kind of closure for my family? Is that for real or is that part of the book? I'm already kind of creeped out. Okay, the first sentence is, "The exorcist is dead." What a lovely first sentence, but I'm so sorry. I need to Google what's going on with this dedication. Oh, okay, I think it's a joke about his wife. Someone just said they read a Reddit, so, don't take this too seriously, but my wife insists that she die in every single one of my books, so I killed her in all of them somewhere, somehow. Collect all of her deaths. Oh my gosh! Okay, I'm sorry. I have to read the dedication of the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires now. How fun is that? It's like a secret little game. For Amanda, wherever the pieces of you are. Okay, this just turned into a love story, okay, people? All right, y'all. I got my microwave mac and cheese. I got my DP, I got my book, and I've got my reading sprints. I'm a happy camper. I have so much energy right now, I'm so sorry. Guys, that was one of the best first chapters that I've ever read. We start off with Abby as an adult, and so she puts us in a flashback, and I don't know how long it is, I hope it's most of the book, I'm pretty sure it is, how she meets her friend Gretchen, and this was just such a sad but funny moment where she has this birthday party, except the popular girl has a party the same day and no one shows up to her party. And honestly, I was feeling so bad for Abby. But Gretchen showed up and Abby was a little bit of a brat and she was like, "Ew, I don't even want this girl at my party." They end up bonding, and it's just, I love reading about friendship, especially how it starts. And when you're that young, I think they're 10 in this flashback, it is often trivial and random. And I think that's so fun. I feel like this is gonna be so much fun. There is promise of blood and gore. So Abby ended up busting her face and she got a bloody lip. And so the last sentence of the first chapter is, "They didn't know it then, but that's when everything started, right there in Mrs. Link's homeroom. Abby grinning at Gretchen with big blood-stained teeth and Gretchen smiling back shyly." Also, when Abby's an adult and she's thinking back on this time, she says, she remembers when the word friend could draw blood. Ooh, I just love that shit. Hey guys, it's a couple days later. I've been feeling a little unmotivated to read, but I have gotten a quarter of the way through this, and I'm really liking it so far. I like that it's really a story about friends. I can't remember the last thing I said to you, but the beginning of this friendship is just so beautiful.
So let me set the scene. We have our main character who's Abby, who's not possessed. Her best friend is possessed, believe it or not. And her best friend's name is Gretchen. And so we get a little fast forward montage of their friendship until they're teenagers. And we get to the fateful night, I believe, is Gretchen's possession, the best friend. And it sucks because we know what's happening because this is what it's called. But, you know, no one else knows what's going on. And I think a little bit of Gretchen is still inside of her and she's trying to figure out what's going on as well. And it's probably very, very scary. There was a scary part where Gretchen goes missing in the woods and she's naked because they were skinny dipping. And Abby's trying to find her. And she comes across this like really dark shack looking place. And there's like this darkness brewing inside of it. And a man says her name and she just runs. And it was actually kind of scary. Like that shit would make me poop myself in real life. It's also funny, all the random teen slang terms and phrases, it almost sounds fake. And I don't know because I wasn't alive in the 80s, but let me know if y'all said this, if you were alive in the 80s. Chill, butt munch. Don't chap my rooster. That is so bone. There's also some slurs that they were definitely still saying in the 90s and early 2000s, so that feels accurate and very sad. But yeah, I'm living for this friendship because I don't know if it's just me, but I'm getting a vibe that Abby might feel more. Like their connection is, Abby and Gretchen's connection is like soul, like maybe romantic. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just, you know, projecting. Anyway, I am sitting in front of Starbucks coffee and I'm about to get myself a pumpkin spice latte because it is the season for the pumpkin. And I think it's going to get me in a mood where I want to be finishing this book. And yeah, really enjoying it so far. What are you doing? What are you doing? Go away.
All right, I'm halfway through and things are looking bad for both of our characters. Gretchen, the possessed, or I don't know if she's possessed yet, but something's definitely happening. She is losing it and she's just so clearly in trouble. And the only one who seems to care is our main character, her best friend, Abby. And you know what? Even though Abby is, I don't think, really understanding what's happening yet, she's trying her best and she's looking out for her friend and she's tried to do the responsible thing, go to her parents, go to Gretchen's parents, go to the principal, and just these adults just suck. And they're all concerned with like Gretchen's father is an important rich man. So like no one wants to say anything or embarrass his family, and it's just disgusting because no one actually cares about Gretchen except for Abby. And this friendship, I hope that, you know, Gretchen can be saved. I hope it's like an ET thing, which they were really referencing a lot in the beginning of the book. So I'm thinking we're gonna figure shit out. But it is stressful just listening to children not being heard, especially when one of them is in trouble. And it's like, oh my God. Another 80s reference though that is very much a part of my life was that a stuffed animal was named, and it was the Wrinkles Pound Puppy. And guess what, guys? This is Wrinkles. I sleep with him every single night. Despite being, you know, an adult and married, I still sleep with him every single night. He was my aunt's, and I grew up with my grandparents. I lived with them for like 12 years. I've literally slept with them every night since then. And it's just so crazy that it's in here. I didn't think he was like popular because obviously when I was a kid in the 90s, I've never seen any of my friends with their wrinkles, and I feel like he's famous now. But yeah, I'm gonna try to speed through this because I want things to be resolved. And I usually like it when horror-ish books, or even just any books, even fiction, are ambiguous or kind of sad. But I want a happy ending here, and I don't know if we're gonna get it, but I am crossing all of my fingers and toes. Not literally, because I'd probably get a Charlie horse, but you know exactly what I mean. All right, I finished. It got pretty intense. And there was some cruelty towards animals, including the dismemberment of one Wrinkles. Spoiler alert. It was very upsetting. But yeah, I really liked it. There were some gross parts to this, like one in particular that I cannot tell you about. There was a tiny part at the end though that got really almost silly. Like, I get it. I get why it happened and why it was the way it was, but it felt a little silly. And then the ending, we started like in the present time, I think in modern days, and we sort of ended in that way too. And those kind of situations just make me so sad when we get the majority of the story when like someone is a teenager, because it just goes to show growing up sucks and being an adult kind of sucks. I mean, being a kid in this story sucked too. So I don't know why I'm saying that, but it's just like friendship as a kid more so is this really special, beautiful thing. And it's never the same when you're an adult because you have all this other shit going on in your life. All in all, I couldn't stop reading this. And I thought it was pretty good. I'm gonna give it a 4, maybe a 4.5, because I really did enjoy it. And I think it was written really well. Like, I'm very impressed. And you know what's crazy is that I think I might like this more than Southern Book Club Guide to Slaying Vampires, just because this has to do with being a teenage girl, and I eat that shit up. Also, the fact that each chapter was named after an 80s song, that was really fun. Also, my husband's playing video games, if you can hear that. I think I'm gonna jump right into Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, just so I can get a vibe for it and get excited for it. So let me go grab it, and we can read the first sentence. All right, I got it. Ooh, it's so sleek. Oh my gosh, there's an author's note. It says, a few years ago, I wrote a book called My Best Friend's Exorcism about 2 teenage girls in Charleston, South Carolina in 1988. At the height of the satanic panic. They become convinced that one of them is possessed by Satan, and consequently, things go poorly. The novel was written from a teenage point of view, and so the parents seemed awful because that's how parents seem when you're a teenager. But there's another version of that story told from the parents' point of view about how hopeless you feel when your kid is in danger. I wanted to write a story about those parents. It's not a sequel, but it takes place in the same neighborhood a few years later where I grew up. Oh my God.
Calm down.
Makes me so happy. They're like connected in a way. The first sentence of the prologue is, this story ends in blood. That is beautiful. Hey guys, it's the next day and I'm about 50 pages in and I'm liking it so far. Hey, Editing Allie here. I realize I don't really give you a synopsis. I just start talking the book as if you know what it's about. So just in case you don't, this is about exactly what it sounds like. A book club of women in the South, and a vampire dude comes into town and they have to figure out what to do. So we already know off the bat that there is a vampire. We already know he's a vampire. Like, we as a reader, because of the cover, because of the title, because it's in the flap. So not a spoiler, just wanted you to know. Let me tell you a little bit more about our main character though. Our main character's name is Patricia. And she is a housewife. She has 2 children and a husband, and she's just working hard. She does so much for her family, and she has a group of women in the neighborhood that come together for a book club. And there's an uppity lady, like I said, who dictates kind of what everyone's reading. It's just kind of like a snotty little bitch. So then several members of the book club form their own book club. It's like Not So Book Club, and they actually, what I'm really loving about this story is that they're becoming friends, and that's something that I thought I might like. I'm pointing up here because it's sitting right there. That's something that I thought My Best Friend's Exorcism would have that this wouldn't, just because I feel like friendship is so much more talked about when a protagonist is a teenager, but I think we're gonna really have some good friendships in here, and that makes me so excited. We have heard mentioned this new neighbor. We have not met him, at least our main character has not, but I'm nervous because now I know the levels that Grady Hendrix can go to be gross and scary, or at least disturbing or menacing. Menacing is probably the best word. So I'm a little worried. Okay, that didn't take long at all. Something very creepy just happened. I literally was like yelling out loud, like, no, yell. There's just something about something or someone coming at you, like chasing you, but not even like chasing you, just coming towards you. Ooh, no. That was scary. And it wasn't even the guy. It was this neighbor next door. It was like an old lady. And I don't know if she's a vampire, but something's going on. Maybe she just ate some bath salts or something, because she just attacked our main character and bit her ear. So I don't think our main character is going to turn into a vampire, so she must be like an in-between. I don't know. In every vampire story, I'm very curious about the lore, like how the rules work in this world. Like, do vampires have to kill and suck the person dry? I don't know, but what I just read is just, whoa, that was insane, but it was exactly what I wanted to get from this book. And that was just the beginning. Oh, I'm so excited but scared. Okay, I'm a quarter way through. I don't know if I'm updating you too much. I feel like it's been so long since I've done a 2-book video. But we have met the crusty man, and I mean, I think he is not crusty right now. He's supposed to be very charming, and I think he is going to try to win over this neighborhood so that he can leech upon them. And it's so funny because this book club, they've invited him into their little circle, and they're talking about like a romance novel. I've never read the book. It's like Bridges of Madison County or something. And one of the ladies is like, this guy's clearly a serial killer. He has no family, he has no license, and he's preying upon one of the vulnerable women. And I don't know how they didn't all just turn and look at him, because he's doing the same thing. He's taking advantage of our girl Patricia, although it's sort of in the polite kind of way. Like, he says he can't go outside because he has some sort of vision problem because he was bitten by a wolf. That part was funny just because, like, vampires and werewolves, yes. And so he just keeps asking her for these favors. It's the kind of thing that is so frustrating because you don't know if he just is someone who needs help or if he's taking advantage of her at this point. It's kind of those situations. I've been in those situations before where I don't know how to say no. This is when I was younger. Now I've had a couple of people take advantage of me, and I'm now paranoid that that's gonna happen, so I'm a little like too fast at saying no now. But yeah, I definitely could see myself in Patricia's shoes and her perspective, and also I think she's a little lonely. I think her husband's kind of neglecting her, and so she sees this man who listens to her, and this could go bad. Patricia's mother-in-law, though, is this old kind of grouchy lady. And I think people underestimate her because she's old, which is a thing that happens in real life. And this woman is saying that she remembers this creepy vampire dude. And so everyone's just looking at her like she's senile, and she's probably right. One thing I would not have done that Patricia did, although I don't live in a southern town, I guess I grew up in Florida, but South Florida is like, even though it's south, like the most south you could go in the United States, the more south you go in Florida, the more north it is. I don't know. There's a point at Florida where it's no longer southern. It's either Hispanic or New England. It's like a weird mixture of the two. But our main character, Patricia, she goes to this man's house because he's apparently the nephew of the woman who attacked her. She brings him a little casserole, and she knocks on the door. He doesn't answer. And what does this bitch do? She walks into this house, a house that she has never been in before because she wasn't close to this lady and she's never met this man. I would never. But then she goes even further. I thought maybe she'd set the casserole down and put her little note. She walks throughout this house and she's just like, hello? And this bitch walks into someone's bedroom. Why would you do that? Like, she almost deserves to be preyed upon because that was some stupid decision making. Also, I am completely joking. Just want to make that very clear. All right, I'm about halfway through, and I've noticed that a reoccurring thing in Grady Hendrix books so far has been that the main character has suspicions and no one will listen to them. And that is the most frustrating thing to read, because we're there with the main character and we know. Also, this gross thing happened and I feel like we just got a taste of it. I'm so scared. Not like frightened. Well, I am frightened, but I'm so grossed out just thinking about what I'm going to be reading. I know it's gonna be really, 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 really gross just based on a personal fear of mine. Also, I've never been afraid of rats before. I am now. You know what's really annoying though? And it's kind of something similar I said about being polite, is that our main character saw something with her own eyes. Obviously her husband, who is so fucking annoying, doesn't believe her because he takes the word of a man and because it's going to make his position at the hospital or whatever come into question. So he's like refusing to believe his wife, even though she saw something. And she saw this man being a fucking, I I don't even know how to describe what she saw. You're gonna have to read the book if you haven't. She knows he's dangerous, and yet she plays along when he comes to her house despite her child being inside. I mean, her child's pretty creepy. He's obsessed with the Holocaust in like an unhealthy kind of way. And I feel like he's either going to become a victim or like best friends with this creep guy. Maybe both. But she lets him in just to save face and keep things pleasant. And I don't understand how someone could do that if they saw what they saw. I don't even think it's the kind of situation where you saw something and then it's so bizarre that you're like, wait, did I just see that? She knows what she saw and she's standing by it. And she still invites this man into her house. Ugh. Yeah, lots of bad decisions happening here, but also something similar in Grady Hendrix is that people are up against possession and demonic spirits and vampires. It seems like really high stakes and it seems impossible, like the final boss in a video game that you just cannot beat. Because you start thinking, well, how can we defeat this thing? And there's like no way, because this is the first time anyone knows that this is even in existence. So it's like, it's kind of stressful, honestly. Okay, I'm going back in. Wish me luck. Guys, this book is actually driving me crazy with how mad it's making me. I think this book is gonna give me some gray hairs, for sure. All right, guys, it's gonna be a long night. I still have like 150 pages to read. It is 8:30. I will not go to bed until I finish this book. We went out and we got some food. I got a fast food salad. I don't know what possessed me to do that. I don't even like salad, let alone fast food salad. But I did get a strawberry milkshake, and I left my phone in the car, and so I just had to go walk back to we have like a carport not attached to our little house. It's kind of a walk, and I just had to walk around in the dark, and I made up like 100 different stories about weird shit that was happening in the night. So if you definitely want a spooky vibe, read the beginning of this and then walk around at night by yourself. Guys, I just finished this book. It is very late, and I'm not peppy enough to wrap this up, so I'll probably be doing that in just a second in the morning. But yes, I finished. I was highly disturbed in this book. Some of the things that happened in it, I knew there was gonna be really creepy shit in here just based on my best friend's exorcism. No, there was actual scary stuff in here, and then there was some gross, disturbing, and also some content warnings. If I knew that cockroaches played any sort of role in this story, I would have maybe not picked it up, because I absolutely hate cockroaches. When I was younger, I lived at my grandma's house, and she had like an infestation of cockroaches, and I would wake up and I'd feel something tickling my leg, and I thought it was like my boxers or something, and I'd reach down, handful of cockroach. Ugh. And ever since I've left her house, no, I will not. No, do not mess with them anymore. They're the one thing that can make me scream, and I'm like actually physically scared. So yeah, that was not fun for me. But yeah, I'm gonna give more details tomorrow, but right now my initial thoughts are like, Mr. Grady Hendrix, he went there. He crossed some lines that I'm not even sure needed to be crossed. And I sort of respect him for that. But I'm also disturbed, but I'm entertained. Hey guys, it's the next morning. I've had some time to think, and I feel like I summed up my thoughts pretty well last night. This was a wild ride. There were parts in this that I was so completely frustrated by, because I'm easily frustrated by a character who is being ignored or gaslit or denied their rights to speak up, and it really chaps my hide. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but that's what came to mind. But it was also weirdly fun in some ways, mostly in the beginning. And it was pretty messed up and gory and creepy. So in that way, it's kind of like a combo of Desperate Housewives. There was actually a mention of Wisteria Lane in here, which made me smile. And then a little bit of Tiffany D. Jackson. I've only read The Weight of Blood, and that was one of the most frustrating reads of my life. I did give it 5 stars, but my God, the frustration I had for our main character who was just ignored and just abused. And in this one, our main character is a woman, and there's a lot to say about gender and these husbands. I swear to God, they're almost worse than the stupid fucking vampire. There is also a tiny discussion about the different classes and races and how that affects people's perception of you, and how much they care or don't care about your problems, which is really sad and heartbreaking and true. And then we have just the crazy part of this with a different creature and the gore. And so in that way, it's kind of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Not in the funny, quippy teenage sense, which actually my best friend's Exorcism kind of, yeah, it had a tone of that. But more so because there are creatures and gross stuff happening. And I feel like Buffy, there's pretty gross stuff in there. And they're not afraid to like decapitate a random zombie or anything like that. It's just, so yeah, now that I've read Grady Hendrix's 2 most popular books according to Goodreads, I'm a fan. I'm intrigued. I want to read his backlist. I think the first book he ever published was called Satan Loves Me or something like that. I'm very intrigued. Although I feel like authors tend to get better with time. Not always the case. But yeah, I think I definitely want to check out, what is it? Final Girls Support Group, which I think was his latest release. And there's a new release coming out either late this year or early next year. It looks good. It's about a haunted house. But I am gonna keep in mind that it's gonna be a wild ride, just as these were. There are things that I will never get out of my head, visuals that I didn't need, but that will survive for eternity. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've read these, which one's your favorite? Also, if you're interested in both, I would highly suggest reading this one first, just because it doesn't go quite as far, I don't think, as this one. It's a little bit more fun. It's like a little taste of this, but I definitely suggest reading it first just because this is sort of a response to this book. So in that way, it's really fun. And there are things that are said in here that make you, I just love these 2 books, okay? I think my final rating for both of them, after a couple days of reading My Best Friend's Exorcism and finishing the Southern Books Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires last night, I think I'm gonna give both of them 4.5 stars. What a time to be alive. All right, guys, watch out for those roaches and those rats.